Hi, this is Stephanie Vanderslice. I am coming to you from Conway, Arkansas. I decided to do this on my living room sofa just so I could be relaxed a little bit. My dog is next to me over here, but she's fast asleep. Um, and I'm happy to be talking with you tonight. You asked a lot of really, really good questions. Since the questions are grouped into three categories, I thought that I would do three different videos with about centering focusing on each one. That way it wouldn't be a long overwhelming video, but it would be in parts. That made sense to me anyway. Thank you, Tanya, for inviting me. So I guess I will read the question and then just get started answering it. Again, thank you for having me. I'm very honored that you read the article and sent me these questions. Okay, the first set is attitudes and barriers. The first question is, how can educators effectively integrate creative writing exercises into the curriculum to help students transition from viewing writing as a fixed talent to recognizing it as a dynamic skill, especially when facing hurdles from school boards and parents who may prioritize traditional writing approaches? I think in order to integrate those exercises in the curriculum, I think you have to do a lot in class, a lot of writing in class, and a lot of scaffolding that writing in class so that students can really see how that process works. And also, I think it's helpful not to just send assignments home where parents can get kind of and school board members can get into the mix, like, oh, I'll help you correct that essay so it's perfect, or what is this assignment, why are they asking our students to do this? If you do a lot of it in class, starting from brainstorming to prompting all the way to the final draft, and I think that you will be able to also show students that this is a recursive process. It's not something that you're just automatically good at or not. Um, and also, just having them write a lot as well is important, but again, mostly in class. Also, I think it's important to praise students, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later with the other questions, to praise students for taking risks, for being messy with their work. I mean, messy in terms of writing drafts and thinking a lot about something, writing stuff that doesn't get used in a final draft. Really praising them more for that than praising them for reading something in class or sharing something that's really good or seems finished, or really praise what you want them to learn, which is that developing their talent is a lot more important than having that final talent. I hope that helps. The second question, as an arts administrator, how can I build on this notion of creating a creative writer identity? I would like to create a pathway for my students in the arts based on creative writing, but I'm often met in opposition that creative writing does not offer any certifications or CTE experiences. How would I build a culture that supports creative writing as a 3-year pathway in the eyes and opposition of certifications and CTE? I think what's important here, and I hope that I'm understanding this question correctly, is to present creative writing as an allied skill or a transferable skill that students can use in any situation, and especially in any even vocational situation. One thing that we really promote with our students at the college level, and I think you can do this in other settings, is that what they are learning are things that they can take to virtually to many different jobs and careers. Our students get jobs as content writers and editors and SEO. I'm not even sure exactly what SEO is, but SEO, people who write with SEO understanding in mind, um, that kind of thing. And they can take that to so many different careers as well. What we want to teach them is that what you're learning here is something that you can adapt anywhere. If you can write, a really good fiction piece or a really good poem, you have you that you work on from beginning to end, and you make it better and better, and you get feedback and that kind of thing. You can transfer the same skills from doing that to writing, an article, promoting something in the community, or trying to convince people, to oppose, you know, um, dumping at a site in the community or something like that. I mean, this is something that is, or, you can write a really good memo. You can, any of those things you can do better if you have a creative writing background. That's something where we've seen our students really succeed. And so it's really um, talking about creative writing as a skill, along with, you know, the same as, quote unquote, regular writing or technical writing. If students can do the important parts of creative writing, understanding audience, understanding the kinds of concepts of writing that are most effective for readers, then they can transfer those ideas to other kinds of writing. We've seen our students do it time and time again. I hope that answers your question. Um, so this isn't something that, certifications can really help in, as much as a skill that underlies so many other areas and careers. Okay. Attitudes and barriers. The quote that you used at the beginning of the chapter from Patrick Blessinger resonated with me. I agree that creative learning is important, but how do you get your students to understand? Hold on. This is a really good question. I work in a rural school. I have cows outside my classroom window, and education is not very valued in my community. I often struggle with showing my students the value in what they are learning, and any creative endeavor becomes very difficult because they don't directly see, and I struggle to convey in a meaningful way the usefulness between 70 to 80, because 70 to 80% are going into the trades. This is a really good question. It's something that when I was the director of the National Writing Project at my university for a number of years, and got to work with many, many, many amazing teachers, really amazing teachers. First of all, I'm sure that if you go to the National Writing Project site, there's probably articles written about this somewhere. It's the best site. It's www.nwp.org. But that's an aside. I think if you work in a rural school where you have students going into the trades, um, I think they can find value in what they're learning by having them write about the very things that they are concerned about. Um, if you have cows outside the classroom window, I think writing a poem or a piece of writing every day for a week about those cows, having the students write about those cows and what they see every day for a week or even more, and seeing, like, 13 ways of looking at a cow, but this is their lives. And so it's teaching them that what is in their lives is what's important to write about. So it might be cows for 1 week because you can see them. It might be a trade that they work in. Many years ago, a student in a nearby community won, through the National Writing Project, a poetry contest about, he was a teenage rodeo master, and he wrote about roping steer. And I don't know if this kid ever went on to college. I think, he was very focused on that kind of work, but he wrote a great poem about that, about being in the teenager rodeo circuit and raising livestock and that kind of thing. And it was really great, and it honored what he did. So I think looking at your students and thinking, okay, what are their daily lives like? How can I get them to write about it? And to see that that's what we do in our lives. We write about what's important, regardless of whether it's, something out of Hamlet, which is what, kings and queens wrote about, or cows outside the window. um, you know you might start with, you could Google something like George Ella Lyon's Where I'm From poems, and really have students read some of those and look at how they can translate some of that to their own work. Those Where I'm From poems really get at place, and place is often a great place to start in looking at how we write about what's most intimate to our lives. That's George Ella Lyon's Where I'm From. I If you don't know about it, so you might try that. Really, instead of writing around or talking around what they're experiencing, I have to sneeze. Chew. Get right at what they are experiencing, whatever that is, and whatever their lives are like. I hope that helps. Okay, number 4. One issue I have in teaching creative writing as an adjunct at the college level is finding the balance between recognizing the importance of supporting students who may be having issues in their personal life and or with their mental health, while also still maintaining standards for completing the coursework. I found the first time I was thrown into the college classroom as an adjunct, I was completely unprepared for the number of students who were incapable of attending class, turning in assignments, meeting assignment requirements, all in a class that I had designed to essentially be completion based. What was more perplexing is that the students that struggled all presented very differently. Some students were just fully disappeared, some came and went, and others were present nearly all classes and seemed engaged but could not manage to complete the assignments on time or even at all. Some students never communicated any concerns to me, but many others did, sharing details on their personal and mental health struggles. This is a really interesting question that I think a lot of people are dealing with right now, myself included. Since the pandemic, we've students' stress levels have gone up. What they're dealing with at home has gone up, and it has actually, I think, also impacted their ability to complete their work. That said, I try to give a lot of grace, but that said, there are basic minimums that must be met, and you can give grace around that, I guess, but those minimums have to be met. One of the ways that I do this at the college level, and you may be able to do this too because you are also talking about being at the college level, is I do this through contract grading. You can look it up as well, but contract grading is where what I do is I have check off criteria for an a B, a C, and a D in my class. Anything below that doesn't meet that is an F. I will always critique my students' work, but that has nothing to do with the grade. At the beginning of the semester, I have a list of all the work that constitutes an A, all the work that constitutes a B, all the work that constitutes a C, and it's less and less work every time. I mean, you say that you do completion-based grading as well, but this is a way of saying, okay, if I want an A in this class, I'm going to do these 10 things. And it's 10 things that I have chosen, that I I'm having them doing, because I think just the act of doing it will teach them part of what they need to learn about writing. The other part will come from me, and the other part will come from workshopping their work in the classroom. So they have these 10 things that they have to do. Might be complete 3 of the main assignments from beginning to end. They have to complete it. It might be, say I have them writing a process journal for class. They have to write 50 pages of a process journal. Okay, they have to do that to get the A. And then all of those different, they have to write. I have my students write peer reviews. I have my students write. They have to do responses, talking points for all the readings. All of that. Those are all the highest level of those have to be completed to get an A. The next level of that for the B, I take a few of those things off. The next level for that for a C, I take a lot more of those things off. What do I want students to learn at a very basic level for this class, at a C level? And then they only have to complete that amount of assignments, okay? And then I tell students at the beginning of the semester, I want you to pick the grade you want and work toward that. And you're actually going to turn in a checklist of everything that you've done, so that you know what you've done, and I also see it coming in. And I can check a lot of this online because our course shell is Blackboard and it's all on there. Anyway, my point is, say a student has signed up for an A, said, I'm going to do all of this. That's wonderful. Almost, I would say 90% of the class at the beginning of the semester signs up for the A work. But then things happen during the semester and they see, oh, I may not be able to do the 3 full writing assignments. I may only be able to do 2 because I can't turn this one in on time because of this family emergency that has come up or something like that, or I have too much work for my other classes. Okay, I'm going to have to drop down to a B. Or maybe I can do even less. I'm going to drop down to a C. So they come to me and they tell me that. They say, I think I'm going to have to ask I'm going to have to go to the B level and complete only that amount of work. But at least to me, that way they are accepting that they have made that decision. It's okay. I can't do all the stuff that I need to get an A. Maybe what I can do is to choose the B, and that's okay with me. Or maybe what I can do is choose the C, and that's okay with me. It's been a rough semester. I've had all this other stuff going on in my life for these other classes, so I'm going to choose the B. I'm going to choose the C. That allows them to have more control and to make the choice, and it also means that they can't try to negotiate with me based on ethos. Like, well, I haven't done, half the assignments, but since it's not in a contract anywhere, that they're going to get a certain grade, they feel that they can try to negotiate it based on the pathos and the things that are going on in their lives. Whereas if they have some control over it, they can say, okay, I'm going to drop down to this lower grade, or I'm going to drop the class and take it at another time. So I do try to give them a lot of grace. I give them grace a little bit around due dates and that kind of thing. If things come up, all of this stuff is stuff they should be doing over the course of the semester. But say, they don't get something in exactly on time, I might say, okay, it just has to be turned in with the rest of your work by the end of the semester. Nobody can get an A doing all this stuff at the last minute. That's just not possible. So that allows me some leeway, and it also allows students to take the responsibility for their work in the class. And again, I have set up these assignments so that, honestly, in the class, all the work that I ask for an A is a lot more than it's a pretty high level, high amount of work. So I think the students will learn from doing all that, but I also think that they will earn an A from doing all of that work. And that way we don't have to negotiate it. And that way I can also coach them and comment on their work without worrying about that I'm trying to explain a grade or trying to deal with them while they're also dealing with outside issues. So definitely look up contract grading. It has worked. I've been doing it for about 3 or 4 years now, and it's working really well. The students are still working at a really high level, but we're not negotiating over things that are kind of fuzzy. We're moving between these parameters, and the students have some choice in the matter. I hope that helps. It's a really difficult thing right now. I've had students, for various reasons who have had issues that have come up, had to miss a week of class or more. If I know what's going on with them and they stay in touch with me, I give them a lot of leeway. I've recently had a student who kept having to miss classes, missed a deadline, and finally came to me because this was all happening in their other classes too, and said, I think I'm going to have to take the semester off. He had some serious illness issues, and he understood that himself. He wasn't going to try to, he knew he wasn't learning at a certain point, and he's going to try to come back. He's a wonderful writer. I hope he does come back. But he made that decision himself. And I think to an extent that being supported by his teachers helped him to make that decision. Okay, I'm going to stop now and then turn it and then do the next section. So hang in there.